Hi, I'm Peter from Coffee Parts, and today we're looking at the Marzocco GS3 AV, so the volumetric version of the GS3, and the Victoria Arduino Eagle One Prima, so their high-end home machine. So firstly, the Marzocco is a little bit more expensive, and we have done a video comparing the Prima one to the Marzocco Mini, in which they're the same or similar price point. The reason we're doing this video to compare is when we compared it to the Mini was more of a no-fuss approach, with the Prima having a little bit more control at the group head, both in the sense that it is volumetric and you can control things like the purge automatically. So we thought we'd compare these two machines because they're both volumetrics, they both have apps, they both have very good temperature control, with the Prima having like Neo being instant hot water in the group head, and the Marzocco running a 1.5 litre saturated boiler, a very old technology from them which started in the 1970s in the GS range. We have done in-depth reviews with both of these machines. With the Marzocco, we did a review with Eric Martin from Marzocco Australia, where we talked in detail about the GS, its history and this current machine, and ran some copies through it. So look at that video, just click here. With the Prima, we did a review with Andre Ehrman, who was part of the development team in Italy and saw this machine come to life and was able to give his design inputs from all his knowledge at the World Barista competitions. He's come in and talked about this machine and the history of how it came together. To watch the interview with me and Andre Ehrman on the Prima, click here. So let's get into it and look at it bit by bit, how these machines are similar and in some respects different. So first things first, the group head, where the espresso is made. We've already touched on it. Both machines are volumetric, both machines are PID controlled, meaning their temperature is controlled digitally, and both machines have apps to allow you to control this. In the case of the Marzocco, you can control it through the menu here, but generally you're more than likely going to be using the app. Now, where you've got a 1.5 litre saturated boiler offering a lot of temperature stability, and volumetrics with a flow meter offering control of how much water is dispensed, with the Prima they've ran the Neo instant hot water technology and still ran the volumetric control. So on both of these you can program your shot, being 30 mils or whatever it might be, and hit a button and it runs that shot. Both of them offer really dialed in temperature control at the group head. So if they're displaying 91 degrees, more than likely it's going to be very close or just off by a touch from that 91. Both of them run shot timers. On the case of the Prima, it shows on the group head here. In the case of the Marzocco, it shows in the menu here. So from the main thing, which is coffee, they are on par with each other, and that's when the Prima was different to the Linear Mini, and that's why we're comparing these two machines. When it comes to slight differences, it comes in at the control level. With the Prima being able, for example, to control the purge after the shot, you can give it, when you pull out the handle, give it a 1 second gap and a 2 second purge. When it comes to pre-brew, on both machines you can control the pre-brew. They've handled this slightly differently. With the Marzocco, it effectively operates the pump at full 9 bars straight away and allows a bypass to bypass 6 of those bars, so you've got a 3 bar pre-brew or pre-infusion. With the Prima one, it handles it slightly different, but it still gets the same results. In both machines you can pre-brew, generally at 3 bars, and then run your shot at the full 9 bars. In the case of the Prima one, you do have, after you pull out your portafilter, the automatic purge, which is really nice. When it comes to steam, the Marzocco is just a beast. It runs a 3.5 litre boiler, and they're known for their dry instant steam, and the steam just runs. I mean, these machines were made to run commercially, effectively in offices, markets, and in your home. So steam is Marzocco's strength. And with the Prima, they've run the steam as a fly-by-wire situation, so it's effectively a solenoid, and you can run the top here, small touch for purge, and you can lock in the bottom for steam. So in that aspect, it's really nice. But in saying that, with the Marzocco, it is a traditional steam valve, but you can just push the lever down slightly for purge and lock it for steam. So effectively, they've both done the same thing in a different way, but the Marzocco has a 3.5 litre steam boiler, which is just huge. You can run that steam. It's just made to be ran. For example, in Australia, milk-based culture, it can pump out milk base after milk base. It's just awesome. When it comes to hot water, they've taken slightly different approaches. With the Marzocco, you can adjust your hot water temperature, which is actually just a dial under here, and that bleeds in some cold water. So when you run the hot water, it's running perfect temperature for your long blacks. With the Prima, they've taken it a step further. Not only can you bleed in cold water, so you can set the temperature of that hot water, they've run 2 different volumetric controls. So whether you press up or down, you're getting different volumes. So if you think of a small volume to warm up a cup and a larger volume to run your long blacks. So different approach, it is a little bit nicer on the Prima. Now, both these machines can be plumbed in and are made to be plumbed in. There's one big difference. With the Marzocco, you're running a huge 3.5 litre tank just sitting behind the drip tray here, and the drip tray is huge. So if you're not going to plumb it in and you're going to run it to say at a market, at home, or at a small cafe, you've got a fair bit of water and a fair bit of drip tray before you need to refill and empty out the drip tray. With the drip tray also being at the front and the water reservoir being just behind it, what it does mean is you've got a lot of room here for your cups. So you could pile up cups here. You're not trying to fill the water from the top. Really awesome if you're in an office environment with a lot of cups, maybe at the markets, and it just, when you need to fill it, you don't need to move those cups. With the Prima, I feel like it's been made to be plumbed in. You can run it from a tank, but the tank is a lot smaller at 1.2 litres and it's filled from the top here. So you do have to move your cups to fill it, and the drip tray down here is also a lot smaller. It is neat when you put it back, the magnets align it really neatly, but it is smaller. So I feel like the design is, it's got the ability to run from tank, but it's been made to be plumbed in. It's been made for that high-end designer home, have it in there, plumb it in, and really become a feature. Talking about features, one cool little feature that it has is on the rear, it's got a beautiful light. It really does set the machine up beautifully. If it was on an island or even against a wall and it gives off that light, there's something about it that's just really, really neatly finished. Not only moving away from the light, not only is it the light, but everything on this machine, from all these dials, the feet, and I've mentioned it in other videos, but do remind me something like a really beautiful watch. It really is very well finished. With the Marzocco's got that traditional design. I mean, the GS came out in the 1970s and they've really kept the same look, but it is a classic boxy design and it's made to be modified and encouraged to be modified. So you can turn this machine into anything you want it to look like. I mean, you've got wooden panels, wooden tops here, people powder coat them. They changed these to be able to have the scales built into the drip trays. You know, they get these anodized in gold or black or whatever it might be. These machines are made to be modified, are encouraged to be modified by Marzocco, and really you can turn it into your own personal creation. And that's where they kind of vary. These are solidly built, made to be modified, and just perfect out of the box. When the Vittoria Arduino is a design piece, you can change the colors of the panels, but it really is to be designed to be put on your counter and you just love it out of the box. So which would I pick? It's kind of a hard answer because they are 2 different machines and slightly different price points, so it's almost not a fair comparison. The Marzocco is more expensive, but it does offer a solid machine with a lot more options. Use it at home, at the markets, at an office, and endless customization. I have owned this machine before, and it's something I really do enjoy. When it comes to the Prima, I do like what they've done with the Neo technology. From an environmental perspective, it's really nice that they're thinking on saving water and saving energy, effectively by controlling the purge after. If you're purging too long, that's water that you're wasting, it's water that you've heated. You know, by getting things right from an environmental perspective, they really have nailed. And that's something I've always liked. Things, not just on machines, but in general, the packaging and that. Being recycled, being environmentally friendly to me means a lot. So they've nailed that in the Neo technology, in the group head. And I really do like how refined everything is. I do like the switches. There's something about this machine that I really like, and I've kind of fallen for over the last few weeks of having it here. So it's a hard answer, but my answer would be, if you're going to use it in a marketplace, in a cafe, or wanting to pump out a huge amount of coffees at home, the Marzocco. If you're looking for that newer machine, a bit more design flair, the Arduino has nailed that department. So I'm curious to know, which of these two machines do you find more interesting, or which one do you have? The GS3 has been around for a lot longer. The Prima's gotten traction really quickly. So leave me a comment below, ask me any question you have on these machines, and like always, if you found some value in this video, hit that thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe.